how a person in short span of 5-6 years can start not one high pressure line but two. So tell us about this first, landing your first export customer.
In those 5 years, we were not really chasing orders, but we were flooded with orders. So once we started working on disa line, the initial 6 months were a big problem.
In fact, I was walking through his foundry and I said, this is like the most non-foundry like foundry I've been in, right?
That's the, you can say, outcome of all the mistakes.
Right. So I obviously have some questions that the industry would want to ask him. Maybe some decision that you made in the 15 years that you can look back now and say, okay, this decision was like the turning point.
Going for the high pressure line.
This is one of the best episodes we have now done on the Foundry podcast. But before we get on with the show, let me just introduce our sponsor. High Pressure Moulding Lines today are what separates good foundries from the best. But if you were in the market for one, you had to spend maybe about 10 plus crore rupees and you had about 3, 4, 5 manufacturers to choose from. Until now, Akshay Foundry Equipments has now introduced Zoomzu, an established Chinese manufacturer for high pressure molding lines in India. They can now supply you an entire high pressure molding line fully functional for about half the cost. That's about 5 crore rupees. Yes, you heard that right. To find out a little bit more about what they do and connect with them, head to the link in the description and let's just get back to the show. So Rohan, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So today we're going to sit down with Rohan Kotecha, Steelcon, right, in Rajkot, and try to figure out, exactly how a person in short span of 5-6 years can start not one high pressure line but two, right? And hopefully you can teach us something, and I'm ready to learn. Let's go.
Sure.
Right. So give us a little bit of your family background, because I know that earlier you all had a trading firm, correct? So when did this manufacturing line, when did the foundry industry come in?
Okay. So firstly, thanks a lot for scheduling this interview with me. I feel very, you can say, special that I was chosen to have this first interview in Rajkot.
You are special, actually.
So that is nice to have this kind of exposure. Secondly, as you asked, yes, my family used to be basically into merchant trading activity. We were into exports of different industrial goods, agricultural products,
Okay.
For African markets. And after I completed my engineering, I was supposed to join this business, but this trading was not something that I was really looking forward for. At that time, we were also exposed to many industrial products where we used to buy a lot of castings from outside. We used to do outsource machining on them, and we used to assemble and sell those parts to our end customers.
Okay.
So this was the main reason that casting came into our focus.
Horizon,
Yeah,
right.
And that's how we had a thought that probably now is the right time that we can have an in-house facility for castings.
Right.
So that is how the castings came into picture. Otherwise, as a family, we were never related to any casting industry.
Correct. Because initially when you told me you all started the industry, I believe in 09. Correct? 2009 is when you first started the foundry.
Yes.
And it was, I think, a molasses foundry that you mentioned.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
So what were the developments that happened, when you started the industry? How did you slowly graduate to moving to greensand and everything? What was that process like?
Okay. So basically, when we started this foundry, the decision basically came at a stage where there was a realization that the young generation was not too focused on going for such hard work, right? And somehow I belong to the mid generation, from the old as well as the new generation. So I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to expand myself into this particular field.
Right.
And maybe down the line, 10 years, I'll face zero competition, or I'll be sitting at the top. Obviously, I was wrong about it. But
Right.
that was the trigger point. That was
Right.
a well thought decision that I made, that I want to go ahead in this particular direction. So we started with our supplies to local industries in Rajkot itself, basically the pump industry. So majority of our castings were being supplied to Rajkot industries. So there was a typical problem with Rajkot Industries when you are supplying to them. There is always a major activity of rate negotiation that keeps on happening every 10-15 days. It's never that regularized.
Correct.
And that was a trouble point for me. And that's how somehow I came to a realization that I need to break this cycle. I need to go and look for customers who want to work on formula basis,
Right.
who are having strategic cost structures.
Correct.
So that's how I started by participating on B2B portals. I used to be very active on them.
B2B portals back in 2010, 11?
Yes, that's why I said
Okay.
I am from the mid generation. I could work hard with the workers as well as I could understand how to use
Leverage
the technology
as well.
Yes.
Right. That's great.
So that is how this whole journey started.
Correct.
And that is where I got my first breakthrough.
Correct. So it was 2011 when you started using the internet on these platforms.
2009.
2009. Okay.
2009 to 11, I kept on struggling to secure something. And in 2011, I was finally able to have something substantial.
Which is a really good story, by the way, by itself, right? So you were telling me 2011 was your first break with the international market, right? That was when things actually started to pick off, right? And but even acquiring your first export customer was a big challenge, and it's a really good story. So tell us about this first, landing your first export customer. What was that process like?
So just to keep it a bit short, basically I was getting too many RFQs from the B2B portals that I was registered with. So I used to give reply to almost all the RFQs because I was looking for business. So I was basically participating in all the RFQs, and one of the customers sort of showed some interest because the Indian pricing were very good. And I had complete knowledge about the machining and the casting process. Being in a place like Rajkot, it is very easy for us. So that's how I was a little bit proactive with them, where we decided that finally we will make prototypes and send a sample batch to them. And in my case, I also chose that I'll travel along with the parts. So as soon as the parts reached to the customer, and I was there to show the parts to them, to tell them what is the good things about it, and maybe even try to push them for
future orders.
Conducting the trials and approve the products.
Right.
So that is how I was doing it, and somehow that particular project did not work out because customer was just taking the quotations, and I was very proactive that I even made the batches and sent to them. So this basically gave confidence to them that these guys really mean business. And that's how they gave us another RFQs, which were actually a long-term business.
Okay.
And that is how I get my first, you can say, not a forced order, but kind of a voluntary order from their side that, okay, you have a try with this.
Right.
And then again came back to India. Again, we developed prototype batches. We got it machined from external agencies. Did our QC, and then finally we again sent the parts. Again, I was back there at the customer end with the parts. We showed them, they were happy with it, and that's how everything started in motion.
Correct. So I think that's also a trend that I see. I mean, talking to you for the last 2-3 hours, that quality control is something that Steelcon does really well.
Yes.
You know, I mean, internally you all can have the whatever rejection percent you all have internally, but nothing reaches the customer.
Yes.
So I think that's a very good strong point that you had right from the beginning.
So, see, once you are dealing in export market, that's basically a genetic difference between a company who is engaged in exports and a company who is engaged in domestic market. So this particular thing was something that we had grasped on a very early stage, that we cannot play around with quality because it is impractical if the wrong material reaches to the customer and it's going to cost you 5 times, 10 times.
Correct.
So that is not something that you can ever afford.
Correct. And imagine your first export, had it failed at quality, you would not probably land that customer, right? It could be a big set off. I mean, could probably set him back a couple of years.
Yes.
So that's really remarkable. And also the tenacity that you had, you know, to go there, to come back, to send another lot of samples, the proactiveness to actually prepare a batch beforehand. You know, it showed that he was eager for business. So that's a really strong point I think people can learn from. So 2011, you get your first US customer. I believe at this point you were outsourcing your machining.
Yes.
Right. So when did you take a call to start your own machining in-house, and what was that process like? Because going into machining for a foundry is another big step. So what was that like?
So regarding machining, I think everybody would agree that since 2010 to almost 2012, India started facing, or you can say, people started getting opportunities to work beyond the industry. Because of that, it was very difficult for the outsourced machining guys also to have their staff deliver on time, deliver good quality products. So this was becoming a real challenge for us.
Right.
At that point of time, fortunately my customer was not pushing me that I should have everything in house.
Correct.
Or maybe we kept it a bit dark, that we never really told them that we are actually getting everything outsourced.
Right.
So that is a stage where we actually thought that now we need to have our in-house machining capability. So we have a very good supplies of CNC machines in Rajkot itself. So it's something you can say the background regarding the CNC machines always existed in Rajkot.
Correct.
So you say about programmers, or you say about operators or toolings, the whole ecosystem is actually set up in Rajkot.
Right. So it was very easily available.
Yes. So that was very easy for us to switch over to having in-house machining.
Right. Right.
So that's how we started that.
Right. So I think basically this is another thing that stands out. You're always after new trends, like whether it was adopting B2B portals back in 9, 10, whether it was CNC machine shop in 2011, 12. So this is something that is also another theme that I've learned from you right off the bat. So fast forward about 4-5 years. I think 2011, 12 was when you started the machining. What were those 5 years like? Was it like just always chasing orders, having a very full order book? What were those 5 years like?
Frankly speaking, in those 5 years, we were not really chasing orders, but we were flooded with orders. Flooded with orders because our pricing was good, number one. Number two was our quality was something that we used to boast about. So that is a very important thing that worked in our favor. So practically we were flooded with orders, and we are always on firefighting mode. We were not able to really have a peaceful day.
Right.
Every time there is some or the other situation. There were times when today morning the casting is being poured, and the same day evening the castings are already in a container. So that is the kind of pathetic situation we were working in
Right.
at a certain point of time. This was not an ideal situation. We are basically putting our customer at risk.
Correct.
Right. We were dedicated. We were making sure that we try everything, that we don't fail our own commitments.
Correct.
But this was basically stressing all of us.
Right.
My team, myself, the whole infrastructure, everything. It was a big stress. And that's how the trigger point came, that now we need to find something that is more productive.
Correct.
So in the meantime, from 2011 to 2015, we had many upgradations in our foundry. We were doing floor pouring. After that, we installed induction furnace. We removed the cupola. And because of that, we had to have trackline system, jolting machine. So we installed a small sand plant. And that's how we used to work 24 hours.
Correct.
And running this also would not suffice the demands that we were facing at that point of time.
Okay.
And it was obviously out of question that we'll say no to any orders. They were always welcome. So that's how I again came back into market, and that's how I learned that there is a thing called high pressure line, and this is how the castings can be made. So that's how I got in touch with different suppliers for high pressure line.
Okay. This was in what year?
This was in 2014. I started looking for them in 2014.
So you're really expanding fast. I mean, starting your CNC machining in 2011-12,
Yes.
Replacing your induction furnace, jolt squeeze line, already looking for a high pressure line in 14. Okay, so this was all export at that time.
Yes.
Okay, there was no local supply at all.
We had completely stopped local business.
Okay.
At that point of time, I was into 100% exports.
Okay.
As on day, we are into 85% of exports.
Okay.
But 100% OEM supplies.
Okay, that's great. So enter high pressure line 2014. I think what was that searchlight, and how did you finally get your first high pressure?
Okay, so basically,
This is also a great story, by the way.
I think I should not go very deep into it. It will offend some people.
Okay.
So basically, at that point of time, I was pretty new to high pressure line. It was foolish of me that being in industry for such a long time, I was not actively aware about such technology being there in existence. And that is the point when I realized that my initial decision to go into foundry business was wrong, because I thought it is going to remain a tough job, but it eventually became an easy job. Okay, you need to have money and technology. So
Correct.
if you are able to adopt that,
Correct.
even the youngsters will start doing that.
Correct.
So I proved myself wrong at that point of time. But then finally, I started approaching different suppliers. I learned about Disa, Koyo, Sinto. So these were the three main players who were commercially able to provide their lines in India,
Right.
and cater to somebody like us. So initial interactions were very bad in terms of I came back with a realization that this is a mammoth task. It's too much of money involved in this. It's too much of technology. My team is not equipped. I'm myself not equipped to handle these kind of technologies. During the course of discussion, I got a chance to visit a couple of foundries where I got to see how different high pressure line works. And typically, DISA at that particular time was promoting a vertical line because they did not have a vertical line installed in Rajkot.
Okay.
And I'll put it on record that vertical line is a superior technology as compared to a horizontal
Okay,
line.
so you 100% believe that vertical molding lines are better than horizontal
They are a superior molding technology.
molding
They are-
technology.
Yes, they are a superior
Okay,
molding
but it doesn't
technology.
depend case to case. You're just comparing technology to technology.
Sort of, yes.
Okay,
It
okay.
doesn't depend. It's not. You can't generalize it.
Right.
But as a user,
Correct.
a user using a vertical line is always going to be happier than using the horizontal line.
Okay.
This is at least my personal take about
Correct.
the whole
Correct.
system.
And this is coming from a person who owns both, by the way. We'll get to
Yes.
that. Yeah.
So basically, DISA was pushing on that, and traditionally, Indian foundries are all working on horizontal parted lines. So I was also of a typical mindset, and this being such a big step, big investment for me, I was not ready to take a risk to go for a vertical line. So at that point of time, I started approaching for the horizontal lines. And during the course of discussion, I met some good professionals from Japan, from whom I did have an eye-opening discussion, and they are the ones who pushed me
Okay.
that my products were better suitable for a vertical line and I should go for a vertical line.
Okay. Okay.
So that was the main pivotal point and making a decision. Finally, we had got into discussion with DISA. They were very supportive. They also wanted to have a good break in Rajkot. They found us very promising.
Did they
And,
already have a vertical line in Rajkot before that?
we were the first one to have the vertical line operational. So
Okay.
basically, DISA had secured two vertical
Orders,
line orders at that
but
point
not
of time.
operational yet.
Not operational.
Wow. So you have the record of being the first vertical line operational in
Operational
Rajkot.
in Rajkot. Yes.
That's good. That's amazing.
And the beautiful part about the whole thing was that we did not install a new sand plant from DISA. Yes, we got DISA equipments. We had to install their mixer. We had to install their, you can say, polygonal sieve and knockout and those kind of things. The whole panel was provided by them. So the entire system worked as per DISA. But this installation had to be done while my running production is going on in the same premises, and that is a very small place.
Right.
So I'm very sure if you ask DISA about it, they will also say that this is one of its kind of project that they've ever done in their history. It's really there in a very small space where cumulatively we had got 7 days of break in which we constructed the all foundations. We made necessary fabrication changes, installed these equipments, even you can say elongated our underground trenches, which were
Right.
required for running this line. And it's a matter of 7 days of break. Otherwise, everything was done during the running production.
Amazing. Amazing. So that means you could also afford the line while your production is going and mainly cater to your customers, because I think that was
Yes.
what the problem was,
That-
right?
that was
Especially
the
being in the
main
export business.
Yes.
That is a main problem. So you get the high pressure molding line, it becomes operational in what year?
2015.
2015, and you start off with it. So what were some changes that you saw immediately in the production with the whole business in whole after you started the line?
So once we started working on disa line, the initial 6 months were a big problem because we actually did not knew many things about these kind of technologies. As goes true for all small scale industries or small scale foundries, we are very weak on preventive maintenance.
Right.
We did not have that know-how. We did not have that infrastructure team that we can focus on these kind of things, or we can predict the problems. So many times it became a survival issue for us that, okay, we are having a breakdown since 3 days and we are not even able to identify what the problem is.
Right.
So DISA was very instrumental. They used to guide us very well. But obviously they are not sitting in Rajkot.
Right.
So everything was being done remotely. But finally, we were very hardworking. I had, fortunately, very good team. Good team back in the machine shop as well, who were able to run the entire machine shop individually without my active participation.
Right.
And because of that, finally we had a good grip on the DISA line, and the production was flowing out very smoothly. And customers were really happy with the improvement in the quality of the castings as compared to the previous quality.
Okay, so it also affected the quality?
Yes, it also affected the quality. We used to have a very big core shop when we were doing a manual foundry, but because a high pressure line can strip deep cavities very easily, we were able to completely close down our core shop. So that was one of the biggest saving that we were going to achieve.
This is a new thing I've heard. Yes. That's very good.
Yes, that was the main, you can say, my point of interest in the whole project.
Correct.
That I'll be able to completely shut down my core shop, because before having the high pressure line, my every casting used to have one core.
Okay.
And that was completely eliminated. Right. So basically for me, the project was going to pay back itself within 4.5 years just by not putting the cores that are required.
Right.
So that was the whole
only based on closing the core
only
shop,
based
not
on
based
the
on any other
use of cores. Yes.
Okay, that's amazing. So I can see why you jumped at the opportunity and went
so
for it.
It was an you can say ideal and easy option for me. There was no big rocket science. It was just about identifying the basic.
It was a math problem.
Sense.
Right.
It was a common sense decision.
Right. Okay. Now, this might seem like a very big jump for people, not only because of the finance involved, but also because of the team, the limitation of the team. Yes. Like you mentioned, you needed to sustain yourself for 6 months through trial and error, through preventive maintenance.
Yes.
So how did you get the know-how for the team? Did you hire people? Did you train, did you groom your internal team to understand the technology? Did DISA fly over and occasionally and brief the team? What was that process like?
So I was obviously very nervous about this technology. So at that point of time, I got reference of one of the professionals who had an history of working with high pressure line. So I got that gentleman in our foundry, and as soon as we were starting the production on DISA line, within a span of 2-3 months, he decided to lift.
Okay, so that was your experienced professional.
Yeah, so that was my first-hand experience of a professional coming from a sort of, you can say, a corporate world.
Correct.
So that was a very bad experience, but I don't entirely blame him for that.
Right.
It was a I also keep on thinking what could I have done differently regarding the situation. So I came to a realization that I need to have a good ground force. Unless and until I have a good ground force, I cannot just expect a professional to come down, sit there and start managing the show.
Correct.
So that was the missing link. And probably that gentleman was not too eager to develop that team. Correct. He probably wanted to have an easier life.
Correct.
So I can't blame him for that, but at least I had my lesson.
Right.
That before I make another decision like this, I need to make sure that I have a good team. So that is how we never really got inputs from any of the, you can say, experienced staff or something like that. So it was like self-learning regarding different things. We had a good team of electrical guys as well. So they also started learning, okay, this is how the whole program is working. Again, DISA was really giving a very good support to us. We were able to call them at any point of time whenever we are facing any problem.
Where was the office at that time?
In Metoda.
Okay, so close by. I mean, probably
Close by.
like 15, 20 kilometers
Yeah,
away.
15 kilometers from
Okay,
here.
right.
So at that point of time, all these things were in our favor, wherein we were really getting good support. And see, it's like if somebody is talking to you and if he realizes that the guys are taking very good interest, they are
Right.
learning fast, they are grasping things, obviously the input will increase from the other side. So
Correct.
that probably helped us to grow even faster.
Correct.
And learn the, you can say, know-hows of how to work with a vertical line.
Correct, correct. That's really impressive. So I like this trait, especially of you grooming your in-house talent. You know, and I believe you also told me that you have now 6 people, or your
Yes.
6 key people running
Yes.
running the entire company. So that's really nice. I mean, they've done an impressive job. Since I've been here for a few hours, I can see everything taking place. So this went on for how long? About 2-3 years before you wanted to expand again.
So now we had the high pressure line,
Right.
but as I mentioned earlier, it was put up in the old foundry premises, which is a very small space. And I had the luxury that daily whatever material we used to produce, we used to ship it to our machine shop, which was again a small place itself. So
Okay.
we were very badly struggling on where to store our castings, where
Correct.
to have our WIP. And in the meantime, we had tied up with other customers as well. So OEMs are obviously going to conduct all different kind of audits. They are going to need to see systems in your place.
Right.
And actually, we should be having it ourselves, but unfortunately, MSMEs do not have that awareness, self-awareness. And the OEMs are the ones who are pushing it on us.
Correct.
And it's finally on us if we want to fall into line or we want to lose on that chance.
Correct.
So we are the ones who are always eager to fall into that line because we knew that this could be beneficial. So the first thing that comes to mind was that now we are lacking the space. We need to have a bigger space. So that's how, starting in 2018, I started looking for shifting the entire thing. So I wanted to have a bigger space. We looked for good number of places in Ahmedabad. I thought Ahmedabad could be a bigger place for me, a bigger market for me, but somehow it did not work out. And finally, we chose this particular location where we are sitting right now. And now we have got a good 5-acre campus. So this is where we finally secured the deal in 2018.
Right.
And then started the construction.
2018. So when you started this location, you wanted your second high pressure line, right?
That was not really the idea. That was not really the initial idea. But because of lack of space at my first foundry,
Right.
the main problem was that we were not able to push out as much volume as a disa line could produce at that point of time.
Okay.
This was eventually the main problem. So I was not able to reach a stage because my order books were so full that I cannot afford to have a breakdown where I take out the disa line from there and install it in a new place.
And that would still take a couple of weeks to months.
Yes, weeks to months. And we did not have that luxury and liberty to have that cushion of castings.
Right.
Since 2009 to date, we have got more number of customers, more number of patents.
Right.
So we cannot predict demands for each and every part.
Right.
So that was not really the idea, but I was still looking for a solution. How do I manage this particular thing? So the first thing that we came up was that first we'll shift our machine shop and then we'll take a call on what to do for the foundry part. But by the time we were able to even finish the construction, the COVID lockdowns came into picture.
Right.
And our whole plan came to different, you can say,
so this
direction.
place was half constructed during COVID.
It was constructed fully, but we are just doing the furnishings and
not operational yet.
But not operational, nowhere near to operational. So we still had to go for 1.5 months of activity to finish this place.
Correct.
So before that, COVID came, and we were not able to make a move to this place. And at that point of time, everybody was clueless. Nobody knew what is going to happen in future. So we were also sure about one thing, that forget the foundry part. Now we need to make sure what do we do with the new infrastructure if we are not able to use it.
Right.
But then after COVID, everybody saw a surge of pickup of volume, especially for the exporters. And that was basically a panic buying from all the buyers because the supply chains were so badly disrupted. So every customer wanted to make sure that they have their pipelines completely filled up.
Right.
So that gave us again a push
Right.
that now the machine shop has to come to the new place. Otherwise, we are not able to going to make these supplies given the new limitations that were in place because of COVID. So once the lockdown was eased up, we started bringing the machines to here, the staff, everything, and we started our machine shop. But the foundry, we kept on continuing production at the old place because economically it was still not appearing to be safe.
Correct. That's amazing. So let's talk about your second molding line. Correct. You finally went and you bought a koyo line.
Yes.
Correct. So what was that process like? Because this time you're coming from experience. You know how to not only negotiate better, of course, you know how much these things cost, but you also know that what you're looking to get out of the line, apart from them telling you what you can get. So this was a very active decision that you might have done the second time around. So what was that process like?
So basically, very frankly, after having experience of one high pressure line, running that high pressure line in such a poor condition with an old sand plant and all those kind of things, basically, those are my mistakes, right? So you learn from your mistakes. And because of that, I was very clear on what particular things I'm looking for. So it was really smooth sailing for me in terms of negotiating with the suppliers. Our requirements were very clear. I did not even go out and see any of their installation. I was fine because obviously now I know what it is all about.
Right.
So there were only certain basics which we learned from our mistakes, that we want this and we don't want that.
Correct.
So that was the only selection point, and then it was just commercial negotiation.
Correct.
And based on that, we found that level of comfort with koyo at that particular time, the combination of koyo and Saveli.
Correct.
So our molding line is from koyo, and Saveli is the supplier of the entire sand plant system.
Correct.
And we finalized the order with them.
Great. That's good. So I have a few follow-up questions, right? This koyo line is a horizontal line.
Yes.
Disa was a vertical molding line, right? So what are the differences between the two, and why did you now go for a horizontal line, claiming earlier that a vertical line was superior, right?
So when I was going for selection of a horizontal line, obviously I also felt sort of cheating myself that I'm going from a superior technology to an inferior technology, because the number of moving parts in a horizontal line are much higher. And my building years as I started was about preventive maintenance, about breakdowns, how did we deal with them, how did we come out of it. So horizontal line is a difficult task. You need to look out for so many things just to ensure that everything is running in total sync.
Correct.
Same thing for a vertical line is comparatively easier. It's more about electronics. For electronics, you can always get support from disa and get it resolved. But mechanically, that machine is very simple. Mold quality is very good. But in my particular case, when I am putting a second high pressure line, when I am a jobbing foundry sort of, it made sense to me that I should be having both the options, because certain components are obviously going to be better produced on a horizontal line, and certain components are always going to be better produced on a vertical line.
Right.
So it was a natural choice for me to this time invest in a horizontal line rather than going for a vertical line.
Correct. That was how that process went. That's great. So your koyo machine has been in operation how long?
We started in July 23. So it's about a year now.
Almost a year and a half.
Yes.
Right. And I think it looks to be going pretty smooth.
Yes.
Right. In fact, I was walking through his foundry and I said, this is like the most non-foundry like foundry I've been in, right?
That's the, you can say, outcome of all the mistakes that we have done over here.
Right.
So basically the planning part is the most important thing. See,
Correct.
koyo supplies the same machine everywhere.
Correct.
Saveli will supply the same sand plant everywhere. But to identify how much space is required in what area, to identify how the ambience is going to be work friendly, how people are going to find it easy, how the flow should be, you can say, lean in a way. So these are kind of factors that you need to really look upon when...
which is what you learned at the earlier plant.
Yes.
Also, in fact, I mean, your campus is really amazing, especially the canteen that you have. We're going to try and show some pictures of the canteen right now. Your pond, right, which you said fills up during the rainy season, right, for rainwater harvesting. That's really, really cool. I think you have 7 or 8 bowels that you mentioned for harvesting, right?
So basically we are in Rajkot. Rajkot is a very dry place, and there is always water scarcity during the summer seasons.
Correct.
So because of that, we have the concept during designing of the whole project was that there has to be mandatory rainwater harvesting. So that was the focus in this whole thing, and that's why we have a lotus pond, we have a pond for water harvesting and those kind of things.
Correct.
And regarding having such a fancy canteen, everybody has to come to this agreement that without a good team, you are not going to be able to do anything alone. So you need a good team, you need a happy team. For this, you need to make sure that they are getting some sort of belonging to this particular industry. For that, you need to spend on those kind of things which gives them the level of comfort that they might find somewhere else.
Right.
So it is basically all comes from working in a very poor infrastructure for such a long time, and these are the same people who moved from the old place to the new place. So
right.
As a company, we owed it to them that okay, you had worked very hard in a very poor environment. Now we want you to reward it with a very good environment.
Right.
So this shows, and it is paying to us.
Right.
We have got a very good retention ratio for our team, and that is one of the main reasons that they are seeing that the company is doing something for them,
right.
for making their lives easy, for making their lives more comfortable.
That's amazing. Also, we walked around your furnace, the three furnaces that you just showed me in the morning, and today it's a pretty chilly day. I mean, it's almost 9-10 degrees in the morning, right? So it's pretty cold. In fact, the people around your furnace were wearing jackets, and not heat protection jackets. They were protecting themselves from the cold.
From the cold.
In fact, it was so chilly over there, you couldn't feel the heat from the furnace at all. So that's really good.
So
design.
Normally, whichever foundry you visit, apart from the very large ones, the known ones, I don't know how they have managed everything. But the environment of the foundry is normally dusty, smoky, it becomes dark.
Correct.
So that is something that we really try to avoid. So because
Correct.
of that, the whole planning is done in such a way that during the entire year, it has to stay airy. You will never find any kind of residue smoke or anything like that. Even if there is some sort of smoke generation, it will go off with the wind.
Correct.
Even we have got fume extractors and everything, but it's a foundry process. You cannot collect 100% fumes. It is going to go up.
Right.
So because of that, the environment stays good. My workers have to feel fresh even at the end of the shift. So that is more, you can say, important for us.
Correct. So it would be a real miss out if we let him go right now, right? So I obviously have some questions that the industry would want to ask him, right? It's not every day we get a successful foundry person on the podcast. So here are my key industry questions, right? So what would you say are maybe some right decisions that you took along the last 14-15 years, right? Because you're in your 40s, right?
Yeah.
So you're still pretty young. So knowing that you always adopt the new technology, go for the newest thing, what are some good decisions that you made along the 15 years that got you to right here?
There are plenty of good things that you need to do to really make progress, but I would be humble enough to tell you that they were not all thoughtful decisions, as we had our discussion, that most of the times the decisions were what is the best available option for me in this particular thing. And you need to always think out of the box. You need to learn how to embrace the new technology, use it to your advantage. Not everything will be available off the rack. You cannot always afford those kind of solutions. So you have to innovate that you are able to use technology to your advantage. So this particularly applies in our machine shop. We have really done a lot of innovative things in there. Foundry process is more about efficiency, running the whole show efficiently. But in machine shop, there are no set benchmarks. The same component can be made with a good quality by longer cycle times and with shorter cycle times. So that is something that we are very open to exploring new technologies. We have got lots of jigs and fixtures. We work with a lot of German suppliers for this particular topic who are able to give us good quality products. Sometimes it's a suggestion from our side, sometimes it's a learning from their side. And this is how we have been able to make a successful product.
Okay, so you say basically sitting and figuring out how to do your machining the best way, right? Would be your, can you give us another one? Like maybe some decision that you made in the 15 years that you can look back now and say, okay, this decision was like the turning point. Like if it's not so profound, at least something that it was a really good decision at that time looking back?
Going for the high pressure line.
Okay,
That
so that
was
is definitely a thumbs
one
up.
of the biggest turning point. Had I missed that particular opportunity, probably I would have lost my business to Chinese competitors or
Right.
Vietnamese competitors at that point of time.
Right.
But we were able to globally fend them off on commercials, on timely supplies, and quality.
Okay.
So this was one of the biggest turning point in Steelcon's history, I'll say.
Right.
Where we made this deliberate decision.
That's amazing. So just since these are industry questions and people would like to know, what are some benchmark profit percentage margins to aim for? Like you said Foundry business in 2006-7, you do not want to go ahead, right? Because your Foundry was just starting off. You saw it was very difficult ahead. So if somebody is stuck in that position right now, they're an MSME Foundry. What are some profit margin figures that they need to aim for? To work below that would be useless.
So as an industry benchmark, I think if you are producing grey cast iron, your conversion cost is going to be in range of 30 to 40 rupees a kilogram. I think it's true for everybody, or at least for the small scale industries.
Right.
So if you are playing at that kind of conversion cost, I'll say a decent margin would be 8 to 10 rupees a kilogram at least.
Okay.
I'll not name it in terms of percentage because the commodity prices have changed a lot.
Right.
Since I started, Pigan used to trade at around 17, 18 rupees a kilogram, and today it's trading at around 45 rupees a kilogram. So going on percentage is a game of past probably, but you need to go on per kilogram basis. That's an ideal margin that you should be targeting at.
Okay.
Then it depends on the criticality of the component. If the component is critical, you should be targeting a bit more. And if you are into, say, high volume parts, 5 to 8 is a good bracket, but really high volume parts.
Okay. So what would you think is your framework or process for hiring talent? Like how do you size a person up and say, okay, this person needs to be on our team?
Okay. So as we talked about it, my first experience with a professional coming from a background with experience. So somehow I have been able to successfully retain some good people and from our existing team. So now those people have become the teachers for the new guys that are coming in. Mm-hmm. So somehow we are right now following a strategy where we are only hiring freshers. That is our key takeaway.
Okay.
We are hiring only blank slates. Those blank slates whom we can teach what actually matters to this particular process. We train them. They are becoming part of this culture. This culture is a hardworking culture. This culture is a humble culture. So those are certain things that we want them to have to be part of this team. Now to expect all these combinations from somebody coming from a different work culture, it becomes a hit and trial, and you might end up changing so many people, or either that team member would not be happy with us, or maybe we are not happy with us, and it will be a long cycle. Rather than we have been successfully going through this method wherein we are recruiting freshers at places where we are not ourselves capable. We take a lot of consultancy from outside where we are getting the trainings done for our team. Okay. And that's how we are able to upgrade ourselves. Okay. So you can go by two ways. Either you bring the talent from outside, that's an organic, and if you want to go the organic way, you can hire the consultants. There's plenty of consultants for each and every topic. Right.
So you would recommend hiring freshers and consultants, but not superstars, right?
Because we are, I might be wrong on this. It's not a general statement. It's not applicable for everybody. Right. But for the organization of my size, for the organization of my scale of revenue.
Currently, this is the process you follow.
Currently, this is the process that we find it is working in our favor.
Right. I think that's pretty good answer. So now, do you have any tips as to how a foundry can keep their order books full for the last 15 years? Because you've done a remarkable job doing that. So what were some key steps you took in marketing? Did you need to market, or did your customers find references? What was that process like?
In my case, I have been really fortunate. It's been God's grace. We have not had to severely market ourselves, but there has been a lot of word-to-mouth references from our customers. So quality pays. Quality pays in all different ways you can't imagine. So having good order books is because we were having good supplies with our existing customers. The buyers who were working with ex customer, maybe he jumped to
a different company and
different
became the
company,
purchase officer.
and because he had such a good experience with us,
Right.
he wanted to make sure that the same project is being done with Steelcon.
Right.
So that is one of the key factors.
Right. All right. This question was not included in, but since we spoke about it in the other room, you mentioned in 2006 you took a trip to China.
Yes.
Correct. And that trip was far different or far similar to the trip that you had just now last month.
Yes.
Right. So give us a little bit about this Chinese trip and what you told me earlier.
So unfortunate on my part, everybody should go and visit China. Everybody should go and visit China
earlier
at
the
least
better.
once a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
So go to any exhibition, do whatever you want to do, but go to China because you need to understand how Indian industries are way behind them in terms of culture. So, okay, maybe they are having government supports regarding subsidies, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing written proof available to any of us. It's all about what we get through people visiting from there. But you don't actually hear it from the Chinese government, right? So I'm not sure on how much subsidies and how much support they are getting. But back in 2006, when I went there during my younger years, I'll say, I came back with an impression that we are too weak as manufacturers to compete with them, and I was pessimistic that maybe we should give up. It's no point in fighting with these giants. Still, somehow the show is running, and though I have traveled, say, around 25 countries because of my nature of work, but China only happened after 18 years. So this time I went to China after 18 years, and I came with even a stronger realization that Indian industries need to really change the culture. The people's mindset has to change, the way the promoters themselves think, that also has to change. We have to take more risks. We have to invest a lot in our infrastructure, in upgrading our technologies. Go for a bigger market. Don't be afraid of approaching each and every country and pushing your products there, because that is the only way you will be able to do something to at least benchmark against them.
Right.
Frankly speaking, we stand no chance. We stand really no chance. It might not be true for each and every segment of product. It might not be true for every industry that we are looking at. India is obviously better at many products as compared to China.
Right.
But as a whole, as an industry, as a manufacturing facility, they are super efficient.
Right.
And that is the good thing that we need to learn from them.
Correct. You also summarized and by saying that foreign customers look to India as a source for reliable castings. Correct.
Cheap and reliable castings.
Cheap and reliable castings.
Yes, India is still being looked upon as a destination, and Rajkot is sort of becoming the hotspot for that because we are really efficient on our pricing. So yes, the foreign customers are basically looking at that is their first trigger point.
Correct.
Why go to India?
Right.
So obviously there is China plus one policy that is also going in favor of Indian manufacturers right now. Somehow I have also gained because of that, and many foundrymen would agree to that they have gained business because of that shift in the policy. But we need to understand that cheap comes first and reliable comes second. That is at least the perspective that I feel that my buyers have. The good quality, once we start talking about a global quality or good quality, where I would say, see, everybody talks about everything, but nobody talks about the RA value, the surface finish. Do you measure RA value of your parts? Can you guarantee the RA value for the entire batch will remain same? That is called global good quality, and that is something that Indian MSMEs are still way behind.
Right.
We are not nowhere near to guarantee that kind of product.
Right.
That's why I mentioned reliable quality.
Reliable.
I don't want to sound rude,
Right.
but that's the bitter fact.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Right.
We are not able to guarantee those kind of things.
Correct.
So once we reach that level, and that level we can reach only by using better technologies, by having the right mindset, by having the right culture, then only you will be able to sustain those technologies.
Right.
Just spending money in technology is not going to solve your purpose. You need
Correct.
to get the optimum use of that technology. You need to sustain that technology.
Right. So, in closing, what is your outlook for the Indian industry for the next 10 years, specifically Foundry?
Specifically, Foundry,
Or 20 if you're a long term guy. I mean,
on a long term basis, I think everything is still very bright, and it might not be easy. It might not be easy because the compliance part which we all should comply to is not really our priority right now. So because of this particular compliance part, compliance in terms of environment protection, compliance in terms of safety features, compliance in terms of human resources. So those kind of policies are still very weak, not so properly visible in Indian MSMEs. So that is going to be a very challenging thing for us.
Yeah.
But in terms of production volumes, we can expect a very good inflow of inquiries, which are already there, which are already coming in this industry. And castings are something that is going to be a regular bread and butter for many industries. So I don't think it's going to have a tough time any soon. But we need to constantly upgrade. We need to keep up with the new demands that are coming up in terms of compliance. Because there is going to be a time, maybe say in next 5 years itself, we'll start actively getting this inquiry or requirement from our buyers and customers globally. What is your energy source? Are you based on conventional energy source, or you are based on renewable energy source? So basically the benchmark, the entry point of a good foundry is increasing day by day and multifold. So high pressure is now becoming a basic requirement. You should have induction furnace, high pressure line, good dust collection system, so that foundry is good. And once everything is done, now you need to have your own source or your own
power.
And renewable power.
Right. With the barrier to entry becoming so high.
Barrier to entry is becoming very high. So it's going to be tough game. It's going to be challenging game, but it is very exciting if you are wanting to take this challenge. It's not impossible.
So what's going to happen to the 80% MSMEs that are in the foundry industry right now? Like, how do they survive? What shifts do they make?
Embracing new technology. You have to do that. It's there is no other way out. You have to change. You have to change as per time. I cannot literally say that MSMEs have to just close down. I don't say give up. I am also one of those MSMEs, right? I feel that pain. I've been the small industry guy to a reasonably sized industry guy. But I feel that pain, but I changed. I had to change. For my survival, I had to change. You guys also need to do that. If you don't do it today, it's going to be tougher tomorrow.
Correct.
So for that sake, you need to change. You need to see what is good for you to survive, implement those new technology that is available for everybody.
Right. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Nothing as such in particular, but I would really hope that going through these kind of podcasts, the foundrymen are able to say broaden their viewpoints, especially the young guys who are say owning a foundry, or maybe they are working in a foundry. This is a very hardworking field, but it's a very creatively challenging field. No foundry has got you can say a kind of stagnancy in its process. There is always an up and down, and this is only one of those industries where you see this on daily basis, the ups and downs. And if you have the passion to solve those ups and downs, it's a very interesting field. India stands such a good potential to make good advancements in casting field. So I would really advise the young generation to give a attention or a priority to these kind of industries rather than going for typically saying Swiggy's and Zomato's, Ubers and Ola.
He was joking with me earlier that the reason he has all these employee perks is because he has to compete with Zomato and Swiggy.
Yes. So this is a tough field, but it's very interesting. You hold a very good future if you are stuck in this particular field.
Right.
You can really have a value-added life.
That's good. Rohan, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It's been a real pleasure coming here, looking at the greenery around. Even inside, it's greener inside than outside. I mean, coincidentally. So that's been really good. Where can people reach out to you? Guys can check Rohan out. I'll put the his LinkedIn link below, and see you on the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow him on LinkedIn.
You are doing really great job.
Oh, thank you so much,
This
and
is,
thank
this
you
is
for
something that
getting us here.
industry really needed, and this is how knowledge sharing, experience sharing is collectively going to help all of us.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rohan. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.